This episode is brought to you by our friends at optioncircle.com.
What happens is it's now retail is like, hey, I can do this. I can set up a workflow. I can, I've been trading for 10, 20 years or not. And you can start to learn how to set up trading strategies without having to be some sort of PhD or MS in computer science.
On this episode of Early Bird, Jay Profit, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Planning at Option Circle. Jay joins the podcast today to talk about the benefits of algorithmic trading, including how it's being brought to everyday traders now and how this technology works. If you're an investor looking to stay on top of the latest market trends, then you're listening to the right podcast. This is Early Bird, and I'm your host, Stephen Lerner. Before we get to today's discussion, let me tell you how you can save time and beat the market through Early Bird, a free daily email newsletter featuring commentary about the latest trends in stocks, cryptocurrency, and equity crowdfunding. Early Bird is designed to help individual and non-professional investors stay on top of all of the critical investing trends. The newsletter is 100% free and is sent to your email box each weekday morning. Subscribe to Early Bird for free at www.earlybird.email. Once again, that's earlybird.email. And now, today's discussion. All right, Jay, welcome to the Early Bird podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Stephen. Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast today. We're going to be talking about the benefits of algorithmic trading. But before we get to that, Jay, in about 30 seconds or less, what should the audience know about you and your background?
Oh, 30 seconds. That's a good one. I have essentially been in the trading in capital markets on the retail side since 1998. So I have grown up through the rise of electronic trading all the way into high frequency trading and now into the world of algorithmic trading. So working for various firms, like I've worked for Schwab, I worked for Pinson Financial, so various groups, but my entire career has been around trading.
Nice. So nowadays, we have algorithmic trading. Real quick, how would you define algorithmic trading?
I define it in a very kind of retail-centric sort of way in that it's really just a rules-based approach for trading. I worked at Schwab for 12 years. I was the head of product over their advanced trading system. So Street Smart Edge, Street Smart Pro, StreetSmart.com. Had a team of 20 product managers. And so, I've seen what traders do. I've seen successful traders. I've seen unsuccessful traders. And what we would always say to folks when they're trying to be successful with trading is try to treat trading like a mathematical formula. And that's easy, way easier said than done because of the human element and the human emotions involved with trading.
No, you're absolutely right. It's such a tough thing. But the great thing about algorithmic trading, or algo trading as others call it, it's a great way to sort of conduct these trades automatically whenever there are conditions that are made in the market. So that way you can try to remove some of the emotion from trading, right?
That's exactly right. So we would have these very large seminars and traders would ask us, well, what should I do? And I'm dating myself, but this is, 2016. And we would give them an Excel template and we would say, okay, what you need to try to do is, determine how much capital you want to risk and, what is your, how much do you want your return on investment and what's your max loss? Like created it and you would type in the information. The challenge is then you still have the human in the middle. So you can put it all in the Excel spreadsheet and go, you know what, I'm going to follow that formula. But what happens? You enter the trade, it starts to go up and it goes up even more. And you're like, well, I'll wait. And then next thing you know, it's down, and you weren't watching it. And so this is where, Algo takes that spreadsheet and just puts it together for you so that you put in, okay, if it goes up 20%, exit the position, and then what we always say is use a trailing stop, right? Because that was the other thing. If a investor used a trailing stop, that most of them had a much higher return than their competitors. So,
Oh, I can see why that's a good thing to use for that. Algorithmic trading, in a nutshell, how does it work? I know you're using these platforms and there's a lot of complicated technology involved, but exactly how does it work?
sure. So I can explain kind of what we do at Option Circle, but essentially we are. Many traders will get this. So you go to your typical brokerage and you're trying to find a trade idea or opportunity. And many of these firms provide you with charts and level 2 data and all these advanced features. You have to essentially go in and kind of hunt and peck, right? Like you're going through stock screeners, you're going through and you're setting up all these variables, and then you're trying to determine maybe you're using technical analysis, maybe you're using fundamental analysis. But what you do today is you're the person doing that. With algorithmic trading, the computer does it. So you set it up once and it scans it for you in every minute, 15 minutes, hour, day, whatever you want it to do. So instead of the human going in and having to perform all those tasks and functions repetitively every single day, week, trying to find a trade idea, with the advent of, cloud computing, the cost of computing going, is really cheap now. That is no longer the case. You can set up these, like, algorithm trading is a lot like just a trade screener. You're looking for some sort of trade idea based upon what you think is a good investment. So, something very simple is like crosses, like you have a 20-day moving average and a 50-day moving average, and they cross, and then there's a spike in volume. So maybe that to you is a good trade idea. So you would buy that security. Well, you can set that up with with an algorithmic trade, and it would scan every single stock, not just looking for a particular stock or a particular sector. So to me, what the algorithmic trading will do for retail traders is it'll remove that emotion. It'll actually, I think we're going to have many more successful traders than unsuccessful traders if they allow the algorithm to perform, as it should. And so, when it goes down, it sells it out, right? Like it removes the position. A lot of traders, even myself at times, like it's going to come back, right? It's going to come back. And then next thing you know, you're down 50%. And so, that algorithmic piece just kind of takes it away from you, and it allows the process to, work through itself. You don't have to watch it. You don't have to sit there and monitor. It's just going to encapsulate everything you need from your downside risk to your upside return. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. So for average traders, what are the benefits, Jay, of using algorithmic trading today?
It's like I say, back to my same point. It's really the emotions. It's because that is what, I've been in trading, I guess, in my entire career, is that's where traders can make mistakes, right? I made numerous mistakes because I let my emotions get involved, and I think something, or I perceive a bit of information that that's a news piece or whatever, and then in my algorithmic trading inside my brain, I modify it. I'm like, oh well, wait, you know what? I'll wait two more days, or I'll wait another week. Versus when you set up when I set it up originally, that's not what I intended to do, and I modify it. And many times, at least in my case, I'm wrong. If I would have just stuck with the original plan, if it went down 10% and sell out, okay, that was the trade. It didn't work, and let's find a new trade. So I think that's where the benefit is it kind of removes the human from toying with the strategy.
Oh, yes. And that's definitely what we want to do, especially because there's so much emotion that goes into this sometimes. When you're looking at algorithmic trading, what is something that investors and traders should keep in mind? No system is certainly perfect. What sort of advice would you give to investors to make sure they keep this in mind while using algorithmic trading?
Yes, that's a great question. So, what I'm seeing in the industry are we have some competitors, and everyone's trying to kind of remove the code piece from it, right? You don't need a quant person anymore to help you create a trading strategy. So a lot of them are now, have a UI, UX, where it's point and click, very similar to what we have at Option Circle, and that you don't have to know how to code, right? You don't need that anymore. What happens is you set up the strategy through a workflow, and then you hit submit or play, for example, and then it goes off and executes it. So if you're new, you can be kind of turned off potentially if you go to certain providers, because you're like, wow, I don't know software development. This is overwhelming. I don't even know where to begin. But there are other traders out there that can do that, right? And that works for them. They can get in there and they can create code and they can create how to do it, and then that works. But for people new to algorithmic trading, with the advancements in technology, there's great UI UX experiences out there that don't require anything but to understand market data and market infrastructure. So understanding technical analysis, fundamental analysis. So if you're already an existing trader and you use those sort of data points to help you create a strategy, there are now firms out there like Option Circle that allows you to just create a workflow. So it's very simple, it's very easy, and it's actually run by the vendor, by the computer system that you're working with, and you don't have to do anything.
Good point. When we return, we'll hear from Jay about algorithmic trading in 2024 and in the future. But first, let me tell you how you can become a more informed investor through Early Bird, a free daily email newsletter. Early Bird has commentary on the latest events and trends in stocks, cryptocurrency, and crowdfunding. With Early Bird's daily weekday email, investors can quickly stay on top of the trends and beat the market. Subscribe to Early Bird for free at www.earlybird.email. Once again, that's earlybird.email. And now, back to today's discussion. So, Jay, today we're talking about the benefits of algorithmic trading, and I'm just curious about a little about the history. This type of technology, it's been around for some time. It's been mostly just available to Wall Street traders. But now with your platform and with other platforms, we're starting to see this technology be made available to just average people on Main Street. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And what's interesting is, I've been in this industry since, like I said, 1998. And what I always find is that, retail is trying to access what institutions have, right? Like electronic trading, right? That was the big thing. ECNs, online trading, right? And so the retail got access, great. And then it was, but they have advanced charting and technical analysis. And so firms like CyberTrader and TradeStation and all these firms started creating these UI UXs that were for advanced trading. So, that was a thing. And now I think the next phase, and it's only because of the cost of computing and storage is so low, plus the advent of AI, that this is possible, right? Because for, decades and, 90s, 2000s, you had to have somebody that was a quant to come in and help build these things inside your computer system. But now you don't need that anymore. And so what happens is it's now retail is like, hey, I can do this. I can set up a workflow. I can, I've been trading for 10, 20 years or not. And you can start to learn how to set up trading strategies without having to be some sort of PhD or MS in computer science.
Oh, I see. So it makes it a little bit easier. Passing on that great technology to those traders from Main Street who may not be tech savvy, may not have that type of background, but it's easy to use, and so that way you don't need to be, a tech whiz to make sense
No,
of
you
it.
don't.
So, going into the technology a bit, I know AI bots are a big part of it. Could you explain a little bit about how the AI bots work and how users are working with the AI bots to find trade ideas?
Sure. So one of the other things that's has been growing and will only continue to grow is the amount of data. Right? There's so much data being processed every day. Kind of pushed out into the world that trying to actually, as a human now, to stay informed, I think is impossible. There's just too much information. So this is where I think, comes in and does a really great job because it's able to learn every day, right? Like it's consuming all that information for us. So we can just go into, like I use ChatGPT all the time. I go in and I just ask questions, and it has all the information. Now it's there's some of it's not as relevant, and it's still new, so it's not like it's perfect yet. But I'm seeing in 2-3 years, AI is going to be like the new Google, I think, because instead of like going to Google and searching, I now just a lot of times I'm in ChatGPT and I'll ask a question and then it provides me the information. So instead of trying to search for it, you now can use AI to have it kind of find it for you. So a good example is if you go into ChatGPT, you can use it today for looking at, like I went in the other day and said, what are the top cancer research stocks? Well, it goes in and looks for it and provides back the 10 and says, here they are. So I think that's where AI is going to be so useful, is it's learning every single minute, every single second, 24/7. Like it doesn't go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And we can then use that as far as the algorithms to keep it up to date, right? It is constantly being kept up to date. So if you have an algorithm and it's scanning for information and the machine learning finds a new bit of information, it's going to update the algorithm to say, hey, this occurred. Like, the 20-day moving average moved. Okay, fire off the order. So that's where, you don't have to monitor as much anymore. You don't have to, sit at your trading desk from, 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. every day. You can create algorithms, submit them, let them run their course, and then review them once they're done.
I see why that's certainly a good idea, and how it certainly can be useful in today's world. Jay, let's take a look at the markets in 2024. Overall, the market's been solid this year. It's up. What kind of role can algorithmic trading play in the market in 2024? Is this something that investors can use to gain an edge in the market?
Yes, I do, because that's where again, once you set up the algorithm, the bot, it runs consistently when the markets are open, looking for trade opportunities, whichever you set. So if there's a big market event or market movement and you've been able to establish your algorithmic trade, it's in the market waiting. So if for example, you set something up that if maybe the S&P dips 5%, you have some sort of strategy that goes in and purchases, a certain sector. Very similar with the as we hit November, December timeframe with the election year, same thing. What's going to happen? So, is the incumbent going to stay? Is there someone new? And that will definitely, you will see, I think, a shift in kind of wallet as it relates to which sectors. So if the incumbent stays, probably not much going to change. But if somebody new comes in, then it's like, oh, okay, we should get out of this sector into that sector. So algorithmic trading and bots can be set up to do that for you, so that you don't have to. You just can set them, and if this occurs, then it would go off and perform that trading strategy for you.
Oh, I see. It's pretty automatic, and you might need that type of advanced technology in today's market. It's tough out there, especially these past few weeks. Jay, real quick, my final question. I want to know, where do you see algorithmic trading going in the future? It's still 2024, but where do you see this going in the next few years, especially with all of the advancements in artificial intelligence in the past few years?
Yeah, I do have a position on this, because I think that How I see it is the trading screens that everybody's using, which I've used my entire life. I think they're going to be cosmetic in the future. I think that everything's really going to be done through either conversational or text AI, and that's how you'll place orders. That's how you'll place trades. You can still use those systems to monitor, but like I said before, there's the amount of information out there is just growing exponentially. If you really want to stay ahead, I believe you have to use machine learning because it's storing all the information for you. It's like a huge database of everything that you need in one spot. Versus today, like you can go to, like, I'll go look at the Morningstar reviews. I can go look at Thomson Reuters reviews. I can look at Argus review. Like it's all this disparate sort of hunt and peck. And I really think that in the future, while we may have screens that show us information, I think trades are going to be done differently. And because data is now accessed differently. And I think, it'll take time. I think it'll be a mixture of both the UX and UI with AI. But I think in, 10 years, it's probably going to be you sit down at your desk and you just start talking and you talk to your UI as you're talking into the machine learning. You're looking at data coming in as a cosmetic to say what's happening, but you're no longer kind of clicking the mouse. I think so.
Oh, wow. Could be an interesting future. Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on the Early Bird podcast to talk about the benefits of algorithmic trading. Before we wrap up the show, I just have one final question for you, Jay, and it's the most important question for today's discussion. That question for you, Jay, is what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received in your entire life?
Best piece of advice of my life. Oh man, that's a good one. I would think that it's that advice I've given is things happen for a reason, right? So there's, it's the old adage, one door shuts, another one opens. That to me has been the best advice I've ever received personally. I just, that's why I think it's, it's helped me tremendously not to kind of look back and have regrets.
Thank you again to Jay Profit for sharing your insights on algorithmic trading. And thank you to everyone for listening to today's discussion. We'll be back next week for another episode of Early Bird. Have a great day.